22, 23, and 24 as part of the overview of Canto 3. So let me share the screen. D2, 23, and 24 as part of the overview of Canto 3. So let me share the Can everyone see my screen? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Okay, let's begin. Sorry for the confusion here. So Canto 3, chapters 22, 23, and 24 we'll be seeing today. And we all know that we've been going through the first initial sections of Canto 3 for a while now. So we finished the first three sections of the Canto 3. The first section dealt with meeting of Uddhava and Vidura, and the second section dealt with the questions of Vidura to Maitreya Rishi. It just began in this section, chapter 5, and they both primarily first discussed about Sarga and Visarga in chapters 5 to 11 and 12 and 20 also. In between 12 and 20 for the 7 chapters, they actually discuss the pastimes of Lord Varaha. And then the discussion of Vidura and Maitreya, as we saw the last week, it shifted to the topic of the life of Devahuti and Kardama, basically the dynasty of Swayambhu Manu. So we will see how, I'm not going through a full recap of all these sections because we have been seeing for a while. So how Vidura and Uddhava met, and then Vidura was directed by Uddhava to meet Maitreya Rishi to inquire about the other questions that he had. In the course of his meeting with Maitreya Rishi, Vidura inquires about the creation of the universe, and Maitreya Rishi discussed the answers for that from chapter 5 until chapter 11. And also from chapter 12, he discussed about secondary creation, that is Brahmaji's creation, how Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Brahmaji takes birth, and from after that, how Brahmaji creates. So that was discussed briefly in chapter 12 and 20. In between those two chapters, as I explained earlier, we saw the life of why Jaya and Vijay occurs, why is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu taking but that whole pastime. And now in the last week, we saw how Vidura, after hearing about the pastimes of Varahadev, shifted gear towards the life of Swayambhu Manu, because in the chapter 12, we actually discussed about Swayambhu Manu taking birth. So that's how we went through all these chapters. So he again is going back to that. Okay, that Swayambhu Manu was born, and then the earth was lifted back and kept in place by Varahadev. It's all over. So what did Swayambhu Manu do after that? So that was the inquiry. Last week we saw in chapter 21 that, and then he also discusses when various descendants of Swayambhu Manu are mentioned, Vidura particularly asks to describe about the life of Devahuti. So that is when Maitreya Rishi starts to describe the life of Devahuti. And in connection to that, Kardama Muni and Swayambhu Manu's discussion begins, because Devahuti is going to be married to Kardama Muni. So the scene began before their marriage. So how Kardama Muni was performing austerities, and Swayambhu Manu goes and meets him. So in the course of the conversation, they both were glorifying each other. So now in this chapter today, 20, that we are going to see, in chapter 22, we will see how after they both glorified each other, then Swayambhu Manu offers to marry his daughter Devahuti to Kardama Muni. And what happens, how they get married, and what happens after their marriage is what is going to be discussed between Vidura and Maitreya today. So the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So as probably in the previous section also once I had spoken about, like it's so amusing that someone who left home like Vidura and taken to an ascetic life, and also Maitreya Rishi who's been an ascetic all the while and is a friend of Vyasadeva. What are they discussing? They're discussing about the married life of Devahuti and Kardama Muni. So it's quite interesting to see that how, because generally renunciants are expected to discuss about so many other matters, but here we see they're discussing about the marriage life of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and we will see why all these various topics are being discussed. Because in the Bhagavatam, even though it's the Amala Puran, it also has uh, so many topics included in it. There are 10 topics that the Srimad Bhagavatam is included. Sarga, Visarga, like creation, secondary creation, Sthanam, Poshanam, Utaya, Manvantara, Ishanukata, Nirodho, Mukti, Ashraya. So all these 10 topics, the Ashraya, about Krishna is only in the 10th canto. The rest is all discussing about creation of this universe and even Manvantaras, the time of the ruling of Manvantara and various other topics. So in this section also we see that happening. So here in the chapter 22, for those who just joined, we are going to see three chapters today, 22, 23, 24. So far we just saw a small introduction for that, a recap of whatever we have seen until now. And 21st chapter last week, for those who missed, we discussed about the conversation that happened between Swayambhu Manu and Kardama Muni. Because now after the 20th chapter, after all the secondary creation is over, Vidura asked Maitreya Rishi, okay, now all the questions related to creation and secondary creation is being answered. What about the dynasty of Swayambhu Manu? What happened to him? What did he do after he was created? After the earth was placed back in place by in its orbit by Varahadev. So in that connection, he asked about the dynasty of Swayambhu Manu, and he also mentioned about the various progeny of Swayambhu Manu, like Uttanapat, Priyavrat Maharaj, Akuti, Prasuti, and Devahuti. And then Vidura specifically asked about to speak about the life of Devahuti. So in the last chapter, Maitreya Rishi started speaking about the austerities of Kardama Muni. Why is he performing austerities? And what is the reason for his performing austerities? And the Supreme Lord appears before him, and after that Swayambhu Manu comes. So Kardama Muni is glorifying Swayambhu Manu is glorifying Kardama Muni. So after that, in the current chapter we are going to see how Swayambhu Manu is going to offer Devahuti to be married to Kardama Muni. So let's jump into this chapter. There are totally 39 verses. It can be divided into these sections where Swayambhu Manu first will glorify Kardama Muni and then will offer Devahuti to be married. However, Kardama Muni accepts the offer but with a condition. There is like a star on the top, conditions apply. And once the condition is resolved, then Kardama Muni and Devahuti, they marry each other, and then Manu goes back. And then a small section discusses about Swayambhu Manu's wonderful rule also. So we'll just see the details. So this is Swayambhu Manu glorifying Kardama Muni. That is this section. So here in this particular section, Kardama Muni has been glorifying Swayambhu Manu in the last chapter. He just glorified him. So in reciprocation to that, now Vidura is being explained by Maitreya Rishi how Swayambhu Manu glorified Kardama. So after describing the glories of Swayambhu Manu, Kardama became like quiet. But Manu became actually embarrassed to hear his glories. Any advanced person doesn't want to hear his glories. He was feeling embarrassed to hear his own glories and addressed Kardama Muni, who is a Brahmana, saying that how the Brahmanas are created by Brahma in order to propagate the Vedic knowledge. And they are full of austerity, knowledge, mystic power, and they are averse to sense gratification. This is the qualification of a Brahman. So they're full of austerity, knowledge, and also they are mainly averse to sense gratification, and they actually try to propagate the Vedic literature. And then he says, what about Kshatriyas? He is also speaking about Kshatriyas. For the protection of the Brahmanas, the Lord has created the Kshatriyas. So now Kardama Muni glorified Swayambhu Manu, but Swayambhu Manu is now glorifying Kardama and taking a lower position. He is saying, for we were just created just for your protection. Otherwise, there is no purpose for our creation. So in this way, he is actually taking a humble position, even though he is the king of the whole earth. In this way, the Lord protects the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas through each other. So their reciprocation between with each other in a very cooperative way is the way they can protect each other, and that is how Lord protects also those two people. In that sense, the whole human society is actually can protect itself if they cooperate nicely. So, and then Swayambhu Manu actually glorifies that how it is his great fortune that he has attained the auspicious and rare association of Kardama Muni, because Kardama Muni is a Brahmana. Even though he might be young, he is going to become his uh, son-in-law. So for sure he is quite young, and he's just a renounced person. But Swayambhu Manu is very wealthy. In spite of all that, he's still considering, because Kardama Muni is a Brahmana, so he actually is like glorifying that I've attained your auspicious and rare association. So I've touched the dust of your feet to my head, which gives actually good auspiciousness, and you have also given me good instructions. So please, now that you have actually your that the Supreme Lord has sent me here. So in this way, he glorifies Kardama Muni, and then he actually offers, Swayambhu Manu offers Devahuti, one of his daughters, to Kardama Muni. So, and here, if like in the last chapter, if we remember, the Supreme Lord appeared before Kardama Muni and then said, in a couple of days, the Swayambhu Manu will come here accompanied by his wife Shatarupa and his beautiful daughter Devahuti. So it was already told to Kardama Muni, and there was no suspense. So, and here he sees Swayambhu Manu, and he also sees Shatarupa and Devahuti accompanying him. And now Swayambhu Manu starts actually praising her daughter. So he is requesting, in one sense, please accept Devahuti. And for that, he is giving various reasons. So he is saying, Devahuti is my daughter. That's one big qualification. And I have the uh, as a father, I have the responsibility to offer her to a suitable person. So he says, she is my daughter, and she is also sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapad. So denoting to his great family, that how his other progeny are great people actually. And he also says that she is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and good qualities. So she is looking for a suitable husband. And when she heard from Narad Muni about you, Kardama Muni, she heard about you from Narad Muni, and from that time she has fixed her mind upon you. She got attracted to you by hearing about you from Narad Muni. So Narad Muni has also done this earlier many times, especially even Mother Rukmini. She gets attracted to Krishna by hearing about Krishna from Narada Muni. So there is this famous verse. So, and in this way now, Swayambhu Manu says, she will be a suitable wife for you in every way. She will be actually a very suitable wife for you in every way. And she's trained to take care of all the duties of a household life. She'll be a perfect wife for you. And then he says, Kardama Muni may deny, saying, oh no, I'm just someone who's living in the forest. She's a princess. I don't think this is going to work. It's not an equal match, something like that. So that's why he substantiates by saying, to deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable. He says, because I have come on my own to offer, don't think it is like cheap. It's actually is rare. And even for the detached person, what to speak of a person with desire for the object? Even if a person is detached, if something comes off on its own accord, he can accept it, because he wasn't planning for it, he wasn't thinking about it. When it has come naturally on its own accord, then the person can accept it, even if he is detached, he is not wanting, or if he is not uh, If he's not desiring for it, but it just comes, and if it is necessary for him, he can accept it. And then Swayambhu Manu saying, what to speak of a person who's desiring for the object? If you are especially thinking about having something, and then it naturally comes, so then why not accept it? He says, one who rejects such an offering but later begs for it from a miser. So now I'm trying to offer to you the worthy thing. You reject me, but later you will go and beg from a person who's a miser who may not want to even give you. Then that will destroy your fame and honor. So better accept now when it is coming your own way, and it's not just a cheap thing. It's a very suitable bride that I'm bringing to you. So, and you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy. I know you have been wanting to get married, and you have been actually, you prayed to the Supreme Lord also about that. So in that way you have a desire, I have a suitable bride, so why not accept? So in this way he's trying to convince Kardama Muni to actually accept his offer of marrying Devahuti to him. So now, after hearing Swayambhu Manu, Kardama Muni actually accepts the offer. However, he offers a condition. So let's see. It's a very very interesting condition that he offers, because it's so unusual for anyone to make a condition like that. It doesn't make sense in this day and age. So let's look at the condition that he is going to keep. So he says, first he explains to Swayambhu Manu why is he accepting Devahuti. What is the reason for his accepting Devahuti? Because Swayambhu Manu has given the reasons to Kardama Muni why he should accept Devahuti. Now Kardama Muni is going to reply to Swayambhu Manu why he is accepting Devahuti. So he says, certainly I have a desire to marry. I'm not denying it. Yes, I also is looking to marry, and your daughter has not yet given her word to anyone. She hasn't committed to anyone that she will get married to the person. So in that way, according to the Vedic tradition, a marriage can take place, because I have a desire to marry and she is not yet committed to anyone else. And let the desire of your daughter be fulfilled, because she has desire to make me as her husband. So then w- why should I reject her? Because she is very qualified person, and he says she is so beautiful. Her beauty is like so famous. She is so famous for her beauty that even the great Gandharva Vishwavasu was stunned by her beauty. Once the Gandharva Vishwavasu was flying over the palace of Swayambhu Manu in Barhishmati, his capital, and Devahuti was playing on the top of on the rooftop of her palace with a ball, and seeing that her beauty, Vishwa was so attracted that he was trying to have a glimpse, and he was bending outside, like he was bending and seeing from the airplane so much that at one point he actually falls. He fell from the airplane while trying to look at the beauty of Devahuti. And he says, what wise man will not welcome her? Because she's actually not a normal person. She is the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, and she is sister of Uttanapada and Priyavrat. She is unseen by those who are, she is not so easy to obtain, and she has come on her own accord to seek my hand. So there is no reason for me to reject her, and I will surely accept her, because it is very very suitable for me to accept. However, I have a condition, and the condition is I'll only stay with her until she produces an offspring. As soon as she has children, I'll accept life of devotional service and renounce the family life, and I'll walk the path of Paramhamsas, as explained by Lord Vishnu. So I will not just remain in the household life a long time. As soon as she gives birth to to offspring, I'll move ahead. And Swayambhu Manu must be thinking, oh, but your father Brahmaji asked you to do procreation, not renunciation. He wanted you to expand the progeny. He wanted to do, that is why you are a Prajapati. So why are you thinking of renunciation even before starting the family life? However, Kardama Muni was fixed. He says, the highest authority for me is the Supreme Lord, who does the creation, maintenance, and destruction. He is the Prajapati. He is the original father of all fathers, even of Brahma. So I've been inspired to renounce as early as possible. So that would be my condition if at all you're interested to offer your daughter. And Kardamani, Swayambhu Manu understands his desire, and Devahuti also hears his desire. So with both of their approval, Devahuti marries Kardamamani. Just a minute. Okay, it's working. So here Kardama Muni marries Devahuti, and Swayambhu Manu actually returns back to his capital. So, so Manu gladly offers his daughter because Kardama Muni understands the desire of Swayambhu Manu, and Swayambhu Manu and Devahuti understand the reasoning of Kardama Muni. So Devahuti was very captivated to Kardama Muni. So after speaking, thus Kardama Muni becomes silent, and he is thinking about the Supreme Lord, and he was smiling slightly and looking at him and his talk and everything. Devahuti is completely captivated. Her mind was fully captivated by the words of Kardamani, and understanding both the desire of Shatrupa and Devahuti, then Manu actually gladly offers Devahuti to Kardamamani. So the empress, the Shatrupa, wife of Swayambhu Manu, lovingly gave so many valuable presentations such as jewelry, clothes, household articles to both Devahuti and Kardamamani as gifts for as presentations in their marriage ceremony. And Swayambhu Manu, his mind was very agitated by feelings of separation from his daughter Devahuti, and he affectionately embraces his daughter and consoles her because she is also feeling pained due to she'll be separated both from both her mother and father. So after they actually exchange this loving reciprocation they have, after that they both Devahuti's hand was offered to Kadamamuni. So, unable to bear the separation, there was tears pouring from all of their eyes, of course, out of happiness also. And Manu and Shatarupa then, after marrying Devahuti to Kardamamuni, returned to their capital. And here in this section, Maitreya Rishi actually explains, because now they are returning back to their capital, the capital of Swayambhu Manu and his rule in that particular place is also explained nicely. So he says, overjoyed to know of his arrival, the citizens of Brahmavarta actually welcome them, both Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa. And the glory of Manu's capital, Barhishmati, is also explained here. And how this particular place, Barhishmati, is, is a city filled with all kinds of wealth. And Manu actually has a place of worship, and the palace in which he lives was filled with an atmosphere where there was no effect of the threefold mysteries. And he actually performed his duties and enjoyed life without conflict, without conflicting the religion. And his even though he was actually uh, actually experiencing happiness, but that happiness was not degraded or anything material. He was accepting any enjoyment in this world in a very Krishna conscious atmosphere. And this way he has a long life because he lives for 71 uh, yuga cycles. And he all through this lifetime, which is a very huge lifetime, he's always thinking of Vasudev. And how can, because he is always taking shelter of Krishna, there was no effect of misery, the threefold miseries on him. So here there is a nice verse which says, Sharira Manasa Divya Vaiyase Yecha Manusha Bhautikascha Katam Klesha Bhadante Hari Samshrayam. So how can miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature and other men and living creatures, that is Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adi Atmika. So bind a person who has taken shelter of the Lord. Because he has taken full shelter of the Lord, he was not being bothered by those three miseries. And in this way, Maitreya Rishi explains that I have spoken to you about the wonderful character of Swayambhu Manu, whose reputation is known all over the three worlds. And now hear about Devahuti and Kardama Muni's married life. Now they both are married. So let me explain, Udira, how they lived after marriage, what happened. So now in this way, the chapter 23 is titled Devahuti's Lamentation, because generally, if we see in the life of Chitraketu Maharaj also this, like how when Chitraketu Maharaj actually uh, gets an offer from the Rishi that you will have a son, but he will be the cause for of both your happiness and distress. He doesn't think much. At that point of time, all that mattered was have a son. So similarly, when Devahuti was attracted to Kardamani, and Kardamuni was well qualified, but he had a weird reason, like the condition, which is a very tough condition actually, which is not a very easy condition. And still, Devahuti was not like kind of discouraged from marrying Kardamuni, because at that point, all that mattered was she really wanted to get married to Kardamuni. So she just got married. But when actually time came for separation, it created pain for her. So that's why this chapter's title is Devahuti's Lamentation. This is a long chapter, but we'll see it quickly. How she actually laments for separating from Kardamuni. So here in these 57 verses, Kardama actually is so pleased with the service of Devahuti. We will see that how sincerely she serves Kardama Muni after her marriage. And then he asks, okay, now that you have served me so sincerely, what can I do for you? So then Devahuti asks for a child, and they both actually enjoy life, and they give birth to 9 daughters. And Kardama Muni has already told, as soon as she has offspring, I'll take to life of renunciation. So then Kardamani plans to leave, and Devahuti actually pleads Kardamani to stay back. And the reasoning that she gives, we will see. So Kardamani was very pleased with Devahuti's service, because Kardamani is living in the forest. Devahuti is coming from a royal family. She is the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, who's the king of the world. And still, even though being a princess, being born and brought up in a kingly household, she accepts willingly to stay in the forest and serve Kardamani with very meager or no facilities. So, because Devahuti's service to Kardama was uh, so austere to do. So after her parents departed, Devahuti actually pleased Kardamani by serving him constantly. And it's not just the external service she did, but the qualities that she had. She was first of all very chaste, sadhvi, and then she understood the desires of her husband, and great with great love and intimacy, and with purity of body and mind, she actually performs the services. Like it is said, how she is like Pritya Vishrambena Atma Shauchena Vishwambena Gauravena. So this particular verse explains how Devahuti serves Kardama Muni, and she also has great respect. She is having a lot of intimacy at the same time, because he is her husband. So she is serving him with a lot of intimacy. At the same time, she also has great respect for him. It is generally said how when one deals with one spiritual master, or even advanced devotees, we get an opportunity to serve them. We have to actually have an intimacy in our heart in trying to serve them, and really have a feeling of being a servant of a great devotee. We need to be intimately connected to them. At the same time, we also need to have great respect. So it's very difficult to balance, because when you're very intimate, and when you don't focus on the respect aspect, then it can lead to contempt. So that is why the familiarity will come. So that is why intimacy she had being the wife, and she had that intimate feeling of uh, serving him. At the same time, she also possessed great respect because here is a very powerful sage. So, with intimacy and great respect, and with purity of mind and body, because she was performing sense control and mind control also, and with lot of love, Sauhrudena, with so much friendly attitude and love, she with pleasing words, with sweet words, Vacha Madhuraya. It's not that she's been working so hard and that's she gets irritated and she speaks very harshly. No, she was also speaking very sweetly. So giving up all lust, pride, greed, envy, sinful activities, and vanity, she was working diligently and serving him very, very sincerely. And because she was continuously working hard, she actually got and for a long time she was doing this. This was for the he was meditating for a long time, many years. So because of that, Devahuti actually grew weak, and she got emaciated, and she actually wanted to have a son or a daughter, basically progeny, wanted to have children. At the same time, she saw that her husband is executing austerities, because first of all, to have wife, to as Devahuti as wife, he performed 1,000 years of austerities, and now he's married, he wants to have children, he's again performing austerities. So this is the Brahmana, like, who in this world performs austerities for so long to get a good wife, or like or to create progeny, because the main service given by Brahma to him is to create progeny. And in this world, time and age, nobody will think creating progeny requires a lot of austerity. So but here, to get married, first of all, he performed many years of austerity, and then to create progeny, he is performing austerity. So Brahmana, a Vedic Brahmana, means all the activities that the Brahmana manifested is from the power of his austerity, tapobal. And because they are performing austerities to purify their mind and senses, when they execute something with the purity of their mind, which was involved in austerity, senses which were purified by austerity, actually the results turn out to be beneficial for themselves and for the world. And here is that's why here Kardama Muni is performing austerities for a long time. Understanding all this, Devahuti is very patiently serving. However, she also has grown weak and emaciated. And Kardama was, when after a long time, when Kardama actually comes out of his meditation and looks at Devahuti, he was so pleased. He actually he was completely overcome with compassion, and he actually speaks to her, "O Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, I am so pleased with you, as you have served me without caring for your own body, which is most dear to all people." So here Devahuti is actually showing how a disciple should be. So here he is saying that you have served without caring for your own body, which is mostly dear to all people. And since you have very sincerely served, I am ready to offer all blessings that I have attained from the Lord through my austerity meditation. Whatever I have achieved benefits from these execution of these austerities and devotional service to the Supreme Lord. I I offer all those blessings to you, and in this way you will become free from fear and lamentation. So, and he says these are not ordinary gifts. Don't think who cares for these, like, as means I need this and that. You may think you may need so many other things, but these gifts that one receives through austerity and penance and meditating on the Supreme Lord, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, these benefits that one receives from by Lord's grace, these are not actually ordinary gifts. These are rarely attained gifts. So what is the use of worldly enjoyment? But having the Lord's grace is the real gift. So in this way, he actually glorifies the effect of devotional service and austerity. So he says all material achievements are destroyed by the movement of the Lord's eyebrows, because Lord's eyebrows are considered, uh, which directs the time factor. So by the movement of his eyebrow, that means basically the time factor, all the material achievements of the conditioned souls are destroyed. And by devotion to, by sincerely executing uh, service to me and supporting me in my devotional service, whatever I have achieved, all that belongs to, all those things belongs to you also. So you have achieved all those rare transcendental gifts, which are actually very difficult to obtain for proud people. Because people who are very proud will think, why should I serve someone? But here, even though you came from a royal family, you did not feel very proud and think, oh, I'm used to taking service. Why the hell I will serve someone? No, you actually humbled yourself and served me sincerely. So now all the benefits that I have received by the grace of the Supreme Lord, all that belongs to you. And Devahuti was very satisfied hearing all these words of Kardama Muni, and she's very happy to receive all the benefits, spiritually speaking, from Kardama Muni. And she also had other requests. So that's what we will see in this section. That Devahuti is fully satisfied upon hearing her husband Kardama Muni, because she was innocent. She was completely satisfied, and she was also very bashful because she's dealing with Kardama Muni after a long time. And she also very straightforwardly asks him, you have achieved all this perfection since you are the master of infallible mystic powers, because you have been meditating, you have got all these mystic powers. However, I have a very simple request. Please fulfill the promise of giving me children. Because since bearing children through a husband is the praiseworthy quality for a woman, so I have been meditating on having children. Can you please fulfill that particular wish of me? I would really appreciate that also. So in this way, she expresses her heart very uh, sincerely or very genuinely to Kardamamani. So and so in this way, she feels a little uh, like awkward because she is very emaciated. So she feels like Kardama Muni is actually, even though he has been performing austerities, he is he has stages. He is like glowing, and she feels a little emaciated. So she wants herself to be equal to Kardama Muni so that they can actually be a suitable match. So in this way, she requests Kardama Muni to make to make her emaciated body fit for actually Kardama Muni, and also arranged a suitable house for them to live. So desiring to please Devahuti, Kardama Muni creates an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. He is not just creating a house, but because he has the mystic powers, he creates an aerial mansion which can actually float, which can actually fly and travel to any place at his will. So, and the whole description of the aerial mansion is given from the verses 12 to 21, 13 to 21, how this particular aerial mansion is bedecked with all kinds of jewels, and it has pillars of precious stones decorated with flags, festoons. It has beds, couches, fans, seats, and the walls are actually decorated with artistic engravings, and the floors were uh, bedecked with stones like emerald and coral, and they were decorated with various precious gems. And the doors were bedecked with diamonds, and there were wonderful canopies and various gates which were made of gold and silver. So there were like beautiful birds like swans and pigeons, and the whole place was like it had various pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, inner and outer yards, swimming pools, and with all these, like with gardens filled with bumbling bees and attractive flowers and fragrances. So in this way, it was a really uh, like an unimaginable aerial mansion with all kinds of wealth and comfort. So for all the austerities that Devahuti performed, Kardamuni really wants to compensate. So in this way, and it was arranged in 7 stories, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It had contained all kinds of necessary paraphernalia and had all the wealth. The palace always vibrated with sweet sounds, and Kardama Muni himself was like surprised to see what he could create by his austerity. So it was, even he was actually very much surprised what he could create. So in this way, the whole aerial mansion was described from verses 13 to 21. And then, because now he created one of the requests that she had, that is an a house basically for them to live. She also wanted to be she wanted to become beautiful because she was very emaciated. So then Kardamamani actually arranges for her to become very beautiful, like to become more nourished and come out of her emaciated face. So Devahuti was not fully pleased just by looking at the house, because she was looking an unfit for that house. She was not looking like a person who lives in such a aerial mansion, because she was like very thin and emaciated. She was like feeling little awkward to be living in such a mansion. So understanding her heart, Kardamani actually lets her take bath in a lake, the Bindu Sarovar, where Kardamani was meditating all the while. We saw in the last chapter why this particular Sarovar is called as Bindu Sarovar, because the water was mixed with the compassionate tears that the Supreme Lord actually the tears came out from the eyes of the Supreme Lord, seeing the austerities of Kardamani. He was so pleased with compassion that he shed few tears of compassion, and that tears mixed with the lake water, and that's why it is called as Bindu Sarovar. Bindu is a drop. So the tear drops of the Supreme Lord mixed in that Sarovar, that is why it became Bindu Sarovar. And Devahuti actually enters that lake, and her matted hair and emaciated body, dirty clothes, all these actually transform. So there, because there are so many mates created by the yogic power of Kardamamani, and these young girls were actually naturally fragrant. Their bodies were naturally giving out fragrance of lotuses. And with folded hands, they were inviting Devahuti, please come, we are all your servants. What we can do for you. So then the girls bathe Devahuti, apply various oils and ointments, and they give her new clothes, excellent jewels, good food, and a sweet drink, a particular kind of a drink which will make her more nourished, so to bring her out of the emaciated nature of her body. And then they completely get her ready, and then they show her a mirror. So in a very clean mirror, Devahuti sees herself well dressed, garlanded, decorated with tilak and various auspicious ornaments. So in this way, she is like, her face was shining, her eyes became fully charming, and then her hairs became normal instead of being matted. So in this way, she became fully suitable and beautiful to live in an aerial mansion. So after that, after she gets ready, then these girls actually present Devahuti to Kardamuni. So Devahuti and Kardamuni travel and enjoy in the aerial mansion. So Kardamuni actually, even though he seemed like becoming an attached husband, enjoying with his wife, it is very clearly mentioned here in the Srimad Bhagavatam that how the sage Kardama actually did not lose his glory as a self-controlled person. So in the aerial mansion, he served by the girls. All these girls were serving them in the aerial mansion. He looked like a moon surrounded by many stars, even though he was actually surrounded by so many women, and he was experiencing household life with Devahuti. Kardama Muni's position as a realized sage was not compromised. He did not lose his self-realization, or his glory of being an advanced sage. So that is the power of his Krishna conscious austerities that he performed before entering into that phase. So, and in this way, they actually travel all over the place, like using the aerial mansion, they visit various pleasure values of Mount Meru, the celestial gardens like Vaishurambaka, Surasana, Nandana gardens, Pushpabhadraka, and Chaitra. They go to Manasarovar Lake, and in this way, they enjoy life for a long time. So then it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that how the enjoyment that Kardo Muni and Devahuti were experiencing even surpassed the demigods, the enjoyment that the demigods were having in heavenly planets. And here it is very clearly said, Kim Durapadanam Tesham Pumsam Uddhama Chetasam Yaira Ashritas Tirthapadas Charano Vyasanatyaya. That is how it's nothing is impossible for devotees. So this verse of Bhagavatam says, what is difficult to achieve for a person who has taken shelter of the supreme lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, which can destroy all misfortune? Because his achieving the yogic powers were not the primary reasons for his performing austerities. He is a devotee who performed austerities, and naturally all these powers that he acquired came in, he just used them for the sake of pleasing Devahuti. He wasn't attached to those powers, and we will see that as soon as when time comes, he is ready to completely detach himself and walk out. So he was just utilizing them, he was not getting attached to them, and in this way they enjoy for a long time. by the mercy of Krishna, by the austerity, the austere powers that he achieved through the austerity that he performed to please the Supreme Lord, because he achieved these powers because he was a devotee, not just because of he was proficient in yoga. So in this way, after enjoying life for a long time with Devahuti, Kardama Muni returns back to his ashram. So after showing the globe of the universe and its variegated features and enjoying with her with in various places filled with so many wonders and pleasing her, so Kardama Muni actually returns back to his ashram. So in this way, he pleases his wife Devahuti. So after returning, they actually, now it was the time for them to have progeny. So Kardamamuni and Devahuti, after returning to their ashram, they actually have union. So he divides himself into nine personalities, and he actually has Kardama enjoys for many years with Devahuti and 100 autumns. So, thus enjoying in the wonderful facilities of that aerial mansion, 100 autumns passed like a moment. They actually enjoyed 100 autumns, that means 100 years in that aerial mansion. After that, they came back to the ashram, and Kardama, dividing himself into nine forms, impregnated Devahuti with nine separate daughters. So, on the same day, she gave birth to nine beautiful daughters. It's quite like inconceivable how this was being achieved, but he being a say a powerful sage, so he performs this feat, and she also being equally empowered, she gives birth to nine beautiful daughters on the same day. It's quite like mind-blowing. And Kardomani actually fulfilled his promise of giving her progeny, because she did not clearly ask she wanted a son or a daughter, anything. She did not have mentioned anything. He said, I will take to order of renunciation after I give her offspring. And she also said, I would like to have some offspring. That's also, now she has not one but nine daughters. So he actually wants to leave home for his real concern of spiritual realization. And it's quite like inconceivable that how he can do that because he just had children. He's not even worried about taking care of them or raising them. He just says, okay, you have nine daughters, not one but nine, and bye bye, like I'll go back. I'm just going to take to the order of renunciation to focus on spiritual realization. So seeing her husband suddenly leave because she had just enjoyed with him for 100 autumns, and then she could see the power that he has, but he was expanding into nine forms, and she impregnated her, and she was empowered to actually give birth to nine beautiful daughters at the same time. Seeing all this, going through all these wonderful experiences in the association of Kardamani, natural it is that she is attached to him, and he is Devahuti is very pained at heart to see that he wants to leave. So, Devahuti speaks to Kardamani, you have actually fulfilled all your promises. At the same time, you also said that you will give me fearlessness. As a husband, you're supposed to give me fearlessness. But I'm not feeling like that now. I have nine daughters, but I'm feeling actually fearful. How will I manage without you? I feel very fearful. So she indirectly actually requests. So after you go back to the forest, your daughters will get married and live with their husbands, but who will take care of me? What will I do? So in this way she is concerned. So, and I have also failed to cultivate knowledge in your association. All the time I had with you, I had served you, and after that I had enjoyed with you. I never received the spiritual knowledge. So, and I did not even much think about your greatness. I was just attached to you as my husband. So even though association is very powerful, Sangoya samsmriter hetur asatsu vihito diya sayeva sadhushu kruto nisangatvaya kalpate. She says that how association of materialists done in ignorance is a cause of bondage, but association with devotees, even if performed in ignorance, leads to liberation. So, and she says this famous verse, Nehayat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirtha pada sevayai jivan api mrito hisaha. He says, he whose actions do not lead to dharma, and he whose dharma does not lead to vairagya. He whose actions, like his duties, does not lead to dharma, and that dharma does not lead to vairagya, and whose vairagya does not lead to the service of the Lord, and then that person is just a living corpse. Basically, she's saying ultimately serving the Supreme Lord is the goal of life. One's actions should be dharmically contained, and that dharmic action should lead to detachment. And that detachment, the real detachment, is actually service to the Supreme Lord. If that is not achieved, a person is considered living corpse. However, I'll tell you, my dear Kardamani, I have been associated with you, but I have not developed any of these characteristics. I have been solidly cheated by Maya, in spite of having an association which gives liberation. I did not seek liberation. I was just seeking for material enjoyment and for children. So now that it's time for you to leave, I feel like I have cheated myself. So please, I'm not, give me fearlessness. You have given me daughters, but you also please give me fearlessness. Let me see, what is the time? It's 7:55. So the next chapter is a very quick chapter. So after hearing Devahuti's words, Kardamuni is Kardamuni has to actually console her before leaving. So he actually instructs Devahuti, and then Kapila appears. He understands. He stays back. He does not leave. He actually waits until the appearance of Kapil Dev. And before Kapil Dev appears, Brahmaji comes to glorify Kapil Dev, Kardamuni, and Devahuti. And after Brahmaji leaves, Kapil Dev appears. Kardamuni offers his prayers to Kapil Dev, his son, but he understands this is the Supreme Lord. And then after Kapil Dev responds to him, he actually renounces and goes back and goes to perform austerities. And then eventually he goes back to the Supreme spiritual kingdom also. So we will see quickly these sections. He says, my dear Devahuti, don't be disappointed. Don't think that your life with me has gone in vain. Don't be disappointed that I'm leaving or that you have not achieved spiritual perfection or anything like that. So he actually, remembering the words of the Supreme Lord, Kardama actually replies, don't be disappointed because the infallible will shortly enter your womb as your son. The Lord had told me that he will appear as my son. So previously you have undertaken sacred vows, so now for that Krishna will now bless you. The Supreme Lord is going to bless you with his own personal presence, so he will personally become your son, so pleased by your worship, and the Lord will spread the glories, and he will cut the knot of your attachment in your heart by becoming your son and teaching you the devotional service. So in this way he glorifies that the Lord will appear, so don't worry, and then he will also give you the knowledge to be fully realized. And then the Supreme Lord appears like with full of faith in the directions given by Kardama Muni. Devahuti actually worships the Lord with great respect. After many years, the Lord appears, makes the appearance. It is not immediately. After many years, it is mentioned. So Kardama Muni stays back for many years along with Devahuti. In this way, the daughters are also growing up. So, and then Kardama Muni, through Kardama Muni, Devahuti actually is impregnated, and then the Supreme Lord appears in her womb. So demigods also are very, very excited or jubilous that the Supreme Lord is going to make his appearance. So knowing that the Supreme Lord is in the womb of Devahuti, Brahma along with various sages actually arrive at the ashram of Kardamuni. So Brahmaji, understanding that the Lord is about to appear, comes to worship him, and addresses both Kardama Muni and Devahuti and actually glorifies them because they are very, very advanced. Who can have the opportunity, the fortune of having the Supreme Lord as their son? So, in this way, he glorifies Kardama Muni that by accepting and following my instructions without duplicity and respect, you have properly worshipped and honored me. We also need to see how Devahuti, who's Kardama Muni, he is the son of Brahmaji, and all the austerities he performed, he is getting married and he is producing progeny. All this is under the instructions of Brahmaji. So Brahmaji is very pleased. Whatever instructions I gave you, you performed the followed those instructions without duplicity. So without duplicity, you followed these instructions, and now you have honored me actually by executing these instructions. He says this is how one serves his father and spiritual master, but obeying the instructions with due respect. So, so in this way, Kardama Muni also shows what the attitude of a good disciple, and Devahuti also exemplifies what should be the attitude of a good disciple. So Brahmaji is saying, your 9 daughters are certainly very chaste because it's been many years they have grown up, and they will increase this creation by their own descendants in various ways. If you see, Brahmaji wanted Kardama to produce progeny. So he could have produced many, but he just produced 9 daughters. However, Brahma is very pleased. In the past, we have seen sign Shiva was tried producing, but he said, no, no, wait, this is not the time. So it's not about the act, it's about what is being asked for. And he's saying he also brought so many sages along with him when Brahmaji came. He says, offer your 9 daughters to these various sages, and according to their temperaments and likings, let's fix their match with these sages, and they will actually expand the progeny. So, and he also says that now I understand that the Supreme Lord is going to appear as Kapila Dev by his internal potency as your son. So he will teach by mystic yoga with Jnana and Vijnana. Kapil Dev, he will have golden hair, he will have lotus-like eyes, and his lotus feet will uproot the deep-rooted desire for karma in the hearts of the conditioned souls by his teachings. And in this way, Brahmaji actually glorifies Devahuti. He says, the same Supreme Lord who killed the demon Kaitaba is now going to appear within your home, Devahuti. How glorious you must be! That after cutting all the knots of your ignorance and doubts, he will actually travel all over the world to deliver people. So he says first he will actually share his teachings with you, and then he will also share his teachings with the world. So in the way he glorifies that how Kapil Dev is going to be the one of the going to set the example of being the foremost among perfected beings, and his teachings will be approved by the acharyas, and he'll be known by the name Kapila, and he will increase the fame of both Devahuti and Kardama Muni. So in this way he glorifies them and departs. And after this he departs, Kardama Muni offers various daughters of his to the different sages that came along with Brahmaji. Kala actually, the daughter of Kardamuni named Kala marries to Marichi. Anasuya is married to Atri, and Shraddha is married to Angira Rishi. Havirbu is married to Pulatsya Rishi. Gati is married to Pulaha Rishi. And Kriya is married to Kratu. Kyati is married to Bhrugu. Arundhati, the famous Arundhati, is married to Vasishtha Muni. And Shanti is married to Atharva Rishi. So in this way, the 9 daughters of Kardama Muni, they're all very famous. Anasuya, Arundhati, they are very famous. So, and Kardama actually marries all these daughters, and then he takes care of them for a while. Uh, he hosts those sages, the son-in-laws, for some time, and then they all happily depart for their own ashrams. So now that Kardama Muni actually prays to Lord Kapila. Now Kapila has also appeared in the meanwhile. So after his appearance, Kardama Muni actually offers his prayers to Lord Kapil Dev. He says, your appearance in our home is your costly mercy. Because he understands the Lord has earlier also told that I will be appearing personally in your home. So he says the demigods become pleased with the suffering souls only after a long time. But you are so merciful and you have personally appeared. But you have appeared, the same Supreme Lord, you have appeared in our house to support your devotees, not considering the negligence of ordinary householders like us. We are not even great people, we are just householders. Still, you have appeared in my home. That is the glory. The demigods even take long time, and they may not even reciprocate if the worship is not perfect. I don't think we did perfect worship for you, but still, you have been very merciful to appear in your form here. So, and then he glorifies the Lord's form, and he also surrenders himself to the Supreme Lord. He says, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms which are pleasing to your devotees. In this way, he glorifies the powers of Kapila Dev, and then he also asks permission to renounce. So he is now asking permission from the Supreme Lord. Earlier, he just told Devahuti, I'm leaving. But now, understanding that the Supreme Lord has come as his son, he takes his permission. Now that you have appeared, I have become free of debt. All my desires have been fulfilled. So please give me permission to renounce this world. So if you see, there's such a difference between various devotees. Vasudev or Nanda Maharaj are so attached to their sons when the Supreme Lord appears there as their sons. Various other pastimes also. Dashrath Muni, King Dashrath is also very attached to Lord Ram. But here we see Kardama Muni he, as soon as the Lord appears, he is not thinking, okay, let me stay here and have loving reciprocations with the Lord as my son. Here, more than Vatsalya, there is more of reverence. He is fully aware of the fact that the Lord is the supreme, that his son is the supreme Lord. So he is asking permission. So there is not much of a natural dealings here, because generally the father is not very respectful to son. But however, here he understands, he has full awareness that my son is a supreme Lord. So he, all he can do is take permission and be very, very on reverential towards him, glorify him, and be always conscious of his position as the supreme Lord. So in this way, he takes permission. And what does Kapil Dev actually respond to Kardama Muni? He says, actually, I have appeared to fulfill my promise to you, to explain the principles of self realization and to revive the knowledge of Sankhya. I will surely appear, offer this knowledge to my mother and as well as to the world. So, and then Lord Kapila instructs Kardama Muni. He says, now being requested by me, go as you desire, surrendering all your activities to me and worshipping me for eternal life. Then you will always see me within your heart as super soul by your intelligence. Thus you will achieve the state of eternal life, free from all lamentation and fear. And he also assures him, I will also describe this knowledge that I am giving you to my mother, so that she will also attain the same perfection and will be free from fear. So you don't need to be worried about her protection. I will take care of that as the son. So now you can, without any worry of taking care of your wife, just go and eh, immerse yourself in your spiritual practice and you will achieve perfection. So in this way he instructs uh, Kardama Muni, and Kardama Muni actually renounces after hearing this. He leaves for the forest with pacified mind, and accepting Mauna Vrata, accepting full silence. He's just fully taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, and he wanders the earth alone without fear or without any shelter. And he fixes his mind on the Lord, and he go through in the process of devotional service bhakti. Thus he becomes fully free from false ego, material affection, achieves self-realization, and in this way his mind has become fully peaceful, and thus being fully liberated even while living from conditioned life, he becomes fully self-situated in devotional service. Bhagavad Gita also, it said, once a person comes to the stage of Brahma Bhuta, from there he actually achieves devotional service. So Kardama Muni was achieving that stage. He was fully Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, and from that stage he has come to the stage of fully involved in devotional service to the Lord. And he could see the Lord being situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu expansion, and saw everyone existing on him as Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And in this way, he could see the Lord, even though he could see the Lord's presence in everyone's heart. So free from all kinds of hatred and desire, he actually was being equal to everyone. And by devotional service, Kardama actually ultimately attained the path back to Godhead. So he goes back to the spiritual world by fully meditating on the Supreme Lord. So in this way, today we saw how Kardama Muni was offered Devahuti in marriage by Swayambhu Manu, and and after their marriage, how they actually in an aerial mansion they were enjoying for many years. After that, they had 9 daughters, and then Kardama Muni wanted to renounce and go back to the forest, but Devahuti wanted a son, because she was telling, like, I want you also was obliged to make me fearless, and I have not taken advantage of your saintly association and have become spiritually advanced. So not just giving me an offspring, but you also need to give me spiritual advancement, as my husband. So understanding the Lord has also told that he will appear as his son, Kardama Muni actually waits for many years, and by the time his 9 daughters grow up and the Kardama Muni also appears, Brahmaji comes to offer his 9 sons, the sages, as suitable bridegrooms for the daughters of Kardama Muni. And after they were all married, Kapil Dev appears, and taking the permission and the blessings of Kapil Dev, Kardama Muni renounces home and achieves perfection and goes back to Godhead. So this is where we saw today, and from the next chapter we will see the teachings of Kapila Dev to Devahuti. So now Devahuti will take shelter of her son, even though her son, she understands that this is the Supreme Lord. So she will actually go and take shelter of her own son. And Kapil Dev will explain the Sankhya Yoga from next chapter 25 until 33, the end of this canto. So we will see that in the following weeks. Uh, Sorry for going a little over time. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. If we have any questions, we can take at this point of time. Otherwise, we can close the session. Hare Krishna. Okay, if there are no
Hare
questions,
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu. Yeah,
Yes.
I did have another question, but I just blanked on it. So I'll ask one other question that I had
Okay.
about when I think Devahuti had heard about Kardama Muni
Mm-hmm.
from whom I don't know.
Narad Muni.
From Narada Muni, okay. Um, yeah, what were the qualities about him that made her so captivated? I'm from the West in the in the
How
20th
is it someone living
century.
in a forest is attractive? Living in a palace to living in a forest, how is it that she even dared make a choice like that? Yeah,
Yeah, and so
actually,
determined also.
generally it said love is blind. So I just think like because she heard something great about from Narada Muni, she was very impressed. That's why hearing is very powerful. When we hear about good about someone, like say someone glorifies another person, and we hear that, we actually become influenced positively. And that is why it is considered hearing blasphemy is not very useful, because as soon as we hear even about a very great personality, a small defect,
Yeah,
even it may
yes,
not be true, it as soon as
yes,
we hear someone saying something, just a made up thing, it really affects, we at least become little
yeah. It
doubtful.
sticks to us. Yeah, it sticks to us like glue. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is why what we hear from people actually affects. So here she was hearing someone from like Narad Muni, who's very respected, who's very uh, is a highly realized sage. And why will he, being a fully realized sage, he goes to Devahuti and speaks about Kardama Muni? There was a natural agenda there for sure. Otherwise, there was no need for Narada Muni to speak about Kardama Muni in specific to Devahuti. So I think
Hmm.
his strategy worked.
Yeah, to get them together.
And also the Lord actually clearly says Devahuti is going to come to marry you. So it was like, I think it's a divine arrangement also, because who's going to appear in their family life? It is Kapil Dev, who's an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So then the father and mother is chosen for the Lord to
Hmm.
appear. So the Lord actually chose Kardama Muni. The Lord actually chose Devahuti to come together so that he can appear as Kapil Dev.
Yeah. Yeah, it's killing me. I can't remember what my other question was, but I'll have to wait. Yeah. But thank you so much for class and for your answers.
Thank you so much.
Love is blind.
Thank you all. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hare Gaura.
Hare
Thank you all.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.